Hey, welcome back to my channel. It is Taj, aka MahTaj Massage, and this is MahTaj Midas Living. Before we get into the formalities of what the video is, if we vibe, join the tribe, make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you know when I have new content out. So this video is kind of going to be like a prophetic message / relaying some information that I've come across that I feel like I should share with you guys, and also what's the best way to put it, and a little bit of research that I have done. So I've probably mentioned in a previous video, I think in maybe a reading, like a tarot or card reading video that I've done, there was a moment where I was battling whether I should be doing tarot or not, because someone sowed some seeds of doubt in my mind, and I was starting to question certain practices that I've been following, and I'm like, but I talk to God every day and God is the one who's led me to these things. And so if it started with God, even when I had those seeds of doubt, I went back to God, prayed on it, got my answers, and he led me back to saying, yes, keep doing tarot. Yes, everything's fine for you to use your crystals. It's not like I pray to them or anything or idol worship them, because they're crystals. They come from God, and that's the way I've kind of always seen it. But anyways, that's me like going into something completely different. But there was a preach and teach that I watched with the wonderful ladies that I mentioned to you guys on more than one occasion, Kichi Tarot, the Woke Bombshell, and Aquaria Amethyst. They are 3 Israelite women, and they are so righteous, but they're also so road as well. Like, I just relate to them more than a lot of other, I guess, Christians, if that's the word that you want to use. But I don't class myself as a Christian. I don't class myself as having a religion, even though I was baptized as a Catholic and all of that stuff. But I just class myself as a believer in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If that's the way that you want to put it, that's the God that I believe in. I respect other religions. I respect other people's practices, as long as they're not doing any harm to anyone and it's coming from a good place, then we are good as far as I'm concerned. But the preach and teach that I watched with these wonderful ladies was talking about the spirit of the Pharisees. And anyone that's even done a little bit of Bible study, I'm not a massive, I don't know everything that's in the Bible, nor am I claiming to know anything, but going to a Church of England primary school, and then a Catholic secondary school, and then a Catholic sixth form, and also studying philosophy, I have done a lot of reading around the Bible, and also done my own separate research and things that I've been learning along the way, and rereading certain passages, etc. Something else I've been watching as well is the Truth Unedited History of Religion series, which is amazing. I feel like if you went to a church-based school and you watch that, and then they retell a lot of the stories of the gospel and everything, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this story. But the way he talks about it, it's way more in depth and not so, I guess, airy-fairy. I don't want to even say that and offend anyone, but when I think of how things were taught at school, I didn't feel close to God. I never felt close to God in church. I never felt close to God when we were doing like religious studies at school or anything like that. I always felt close to God, like particularly in nature and just in my own time, where I'm just speaking in my head or speaking out loud in my alone time. That's always how I've been, even since I was a kid. I used to always ask, like, if God's everywhere, why do we have to go to church? It doesn't make sense. And no one could ever answer me that question. Like, no teacher, no preacher, literally no one could ever answer me that question as a kid. And to me, that didn't make sense. And in that organized religion setting, I personally never ever felt close to God. It's when I'm building my own relationship and doing my own little things here and there, that my own personal things. Oh, sorry, I'm on a main road, guys. Yeah, my own personal relationship and things that I've come to know, and certain prayers I've asked, and then within an hour or the next day or the next week I get my answer. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And as I was saying, the study that I was looking into, their like preach and teach session was talking about the spirit of the Pharisees. So the Pharisees held, I guess, a high place in society back in those times, and they were, I guess, the best way to put it would be the religious leaders, but they were more just 100% by the book and were kind of more religion over relationship. That's probably the best way to put it. And then when Jesus came along, they didn't like him because he was more relationship based and more personal based, and they were like, oh, you can't do this is against God. Oh, you can't do that, this is against God. You're not meant to do that on the Sabbath, da 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 da. Like they were always nitpicking at Jesus and always had issues with him. And it kind of makes me think of certain things that I've been going through recently, especially over the last year to 18 months, especially because last year, so 2020, when we went into lockdown and all of that stuff, I've always had a personal relationship with God, as I mentioned, but during that time I spent a lot of time in nature. I spent a lot of time praying, and my relationship with God developed even further. And I also noticed the development of or the strengthening of some of my spiritual gifts that I have, such as channeling messages through. But yeah, as I said, the whole thing with the accusations, there's been things on my Instagram where people are saying that I'm worshipping the devil and like what I'm doing is witchcraft, da, 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 da. I'm like, I've never cast a spell in my life. Like literally never. God is always at the forefront of my mind. When I wake up, during the day, I speak to him all the time, and before I go to bed, I talk to him before I sleep. But it doesn't matter what they think anyways. God knows my heart, and that's the main thing. But I just wanted to, I guess I felt I kind of had to clear that up as well. But yeah, anyways, with this whole preach and teach thing, I've got my trusty notebook again. So some of this stuff is a little bit of research. Some of it is notes that I took while watching the preach and teach of those wonderful ladies. I will link the video below in case you want to see it, because the information was really interesting. But basically they were talking about the spirit of the Pharisees, and what they said was, they are those who know God but still choose the dark side and then speak out against the children of God for not following the words of God. And as soon as they said that, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. People look at me, like people that are heavily based in organized religion and I guess are more closed-minded and I guess carrying the spirit of the Pharisees, they see me as like a hippie, a witch. I don't even know what they want to call me. But as I said, me and God are good, and the relationship is personal, and I always ask for guidance from him every single day, and he leads me on the right path. Yes, I do meander sometimes because I'm human at the end of the day and we all make mistakes. But yeah, that particular part there just stood out for me because it's kind of like, it's hypocritical, like that behavior. Because if someone else is trying to learn about God and wants to talk about work, even if you disagree, you shouldn't judge them for their beliefs. You can have discussions, you can have debates, but there should still always be that level of respect. I would never shut down someone because their beliefs are different to mine. I'd be more open because you can learn from other people as well. So as I said before, there was a time where I actually stopped doing readings because I was completely confused, and I was like, God, but you led me to do these readings, you led me to YouTube, like why are you now sending people to tell me that I shouldn't be doing it? But again, it was those seeds of doubt. Prayed on it and he led me back to tarot and the card readings that I've been doing. And I'm not saying that there isn't evil in that circle or in that area of tarot, because there definitely is. But we also have to remember that in any situation where something is of good, people can be manipulating it and using it for bad. That's just how things are. We live in a dual reality. So with the good always comes the bad, and that's just how it's going to be. But the way I kind of see it is, God is the creator of everything in this universe, and then it's the free will of humans, or even prior to us, the fall of Satan and all of that, that was his free will to go against God and then cause the rebellion and have other angels come with him, and then obviously they were then cast out. And the same way, God will provide us with tools such as crystals and astrology and things like that, because God is the one who made the heavens above. So why is something like astrology evil? I think it's only evil if you're using it with evil intentions. But if you're using it the way it's intended to be used, because why would we have all these different cycles, and why would we be so connected to things like the moon and it having an effect on how we feel, and the retrogrades and all of those things, if it's not God-given? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. That's something I want to dive into as well. But even thinking of something as simple as the story of when Jesus was born, the kings followed the star to get to Jesus. So how is astrology evil? Just from that one example. Obviously there's probably loads of other examples, but that was the first and main one that came to my mind. But anyways, that's going off on a tangent now. I've got so many notes, they're all over the place, so I do apologize if this video comes across a bit mishmash. So for example, with the tarot cards, there's a lot of people that are calling out people like, not myself personally, but people like me who are women of God or people of God, and they use tarot as part of their readings. And they're like, oh, tarot stems from demonic practices, this, that, and the other, da 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 da. And I was just like, yeah, it can be used for that, but is it really that evil? Then I started looking into it a little bit. I prayed on it first, and then funnily enough, this particular video that I watched, where I'm retelling you some of the information, was one of my answered prayers. So what they were saying is, with the tarot cards, it starts with God and ends with God, and basically it's an anointed, blessed tool in the right hands, that is, in the hands of the chosen, and they're used in addition to prayer. And it also helps to give a visual of prophetic messages. So for example, certain readings that I've done, I've had an initial message that's coming through me. I'll share that message, then I'll shuffle the cards, and then the cards that come out are pretty much telling exactly what I just said in my message. And that's what I mean in regards to it giving you a visual and it being used for the right reasons, rather than calling out false messages that a lot of people in this community can do. Something else that tarot can be used for, and it's also something that I've used it for myself, is when I'm praying about something, and then I'll be shuffling the cards in regards, oh, a little fly just went past there, sorry, shuffling my cards, and I'll be praying about something, on a particular situation, and then as I'm shuffling, the cards will come out and it will kind of relay what I need to know about that situation. So it's not necessarily future telling. Obviously sometimes it can allude to things that are coming up in the near future or even the distant future, but sometimes it's what's in your heart as well. Like, you've got the answers but you can't formulate the answers, and it's just an additional tool to give you the visual representation of your answers. Hopefully that makes sense. Something else that the cards can be used for is when you know that there's enemies against you. For example, what you can do is use the cards while you're praying, and it can, whatever card you draw out, which are revealed to you obviously from God, will give you insight into the things that you need to pray against. Because remember, when we are praying against things that are happening to us, we're not praying against individuals or people. We're praying against the principalities and the entities and the spirits that are possessing them, or that they are channeling knowingly or unknowingly. And that's what we're battling against, i.e. the spiritual warfare. So coming back to the point of certain new age practices being classed as evil, it's not really new age, because a lot of these practices were being done back in the times of Babylon, when people were completely going off the rails and against God. It's, what's the saying? Something about under the sun? Oh, I can't remember the saying. Is it nothing new under the sun? Something like that, I think the saying is. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, because I'm not sure of the saying. But everything starts with God. God is the one that created everything. God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. So nothing can be truly rooted in evil, because God created everything. It's then us and Satan and his minions and all of that can then turn these things into something evil. So this particular part I'm going to say, I'm just going to read off. This isn't something I got from the Preach and Teach video, but it's something that was channeled through as I was just sitting, and then I just needed to make notes, so I didn't really read this. So I've just said the part about the Alpha and Omega and God being the beginning of the end. So what I've written is, so anything so-called rooted in evil is just an inverted imitation of what is God ordained, like a direct slap in the face. It's also to cause confusion, division, and blur the lines. And again, that whole blurring of the lines, those seeds of doubt were planted in me to almost stop doing tarot. But I'm like, this is a part of my spiritual calling. This is something that God has called me to do. And those seeds of doubt almost stopped me from pursuing a part of my gifts that were God-given. So it's just, yeah, the whole blurring of the lines thing, I think, is a massive part of this. So if you haven't got strong discernment, you will get sucked into the evil of this, I guess, love and light, dark and hate community. A lot of these doubts and questions and accusations that have been thrown towards me, they haven't upset me, because I know what's in my heart. So there's nothing to be upset about, but sometimes it does make you doubt certain things, as I mentioned before. But then I'm like, do you know what? Jesus was accused of witchcraft time and time and time again, and he wasn't practicing witchcraft. He's literally the Son of God. So then when I think about him and a lot of his struggles, obviously my struggles are nowhere near on par what he went through, but I can empathize with certain things. I'm like, the more I'm getting closer to God, the more I'm noticing certain people around me are moving mad, and I've not done anything to them. They'll either fall away from me or pick arguments with me, try and manipulate me, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on? So then I come back to praying, and then I'll be led to one of these ladies' videos, or a Bible passage, or something will happen. I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. This is meant to happen. As long as I stick on focusing on God, all this other stuff that's falling away, as much as it is upsetting at times, I know I'm on the right track. I just got to keep pushing forward. And I hope this video actually helps encourage other people as well that might be going through something similar. You're not alone. Like I mentioned earlier, and in my very first YouTube video, funnily enough, it was God that led me to do YouTube, and it was through my relationship developing with him and strengthening more and more throughout 2020 in particular, up until and including now, that he's revealed more and more to me when I just ask him questions. Sometimes I'll say a prayer and I'll get an answer like instantaneously, and I'm just like, wow. But anyways, one thing I wanted to talk about, what I've got in notes, back to tarot again. Yes, again. I just wanted to do a brief history of how tarot cards came about. And basically it was when the Greeks invaded Israel. So when I say Israel, I mean like back in the day, like biblical times. They invaded Israel and they forbade everyone from studying the Torah. And then that's how tarot cards came about, as a way of studying the Torah in secret, because they just looked like playing cards, so no one would really notice. You could basically study your religious practices and read the word of God and study the word of God in plain sight without getting into trouble. I believe there are references to this in the book of Maccabees. I need to do further research into this myself. I have bought the Apocrypha, which has the books that are not in the traditional Bible that is brought about every day. So it's the books that were taken out from the Bible. It's something that I still need to study into, but a lot of things that are revealed to me, a lot of the time I don't actually, this is going to sound wild, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I don't always research everything until it gets to the point where I have to research it, because my gut instinct and my discernment is I'm not going to say quite strong, it's very strong. Like, I can be told something, and even if I don't have proof, I will know that it is the God's honest truth. Or if it's a lie, I will know it's a lie, even though I can't prove it. And then eventually the truth or the lie is revealed, and I'm like, I knew it, even though I had no proof beforehand. It's just a feeling. It's really hard. So when it comes to doing videos like this, I try and get as much information as I can, because people need receipts and information. But also use your discernment, or do your own independent research as well. The maddest thing is as well, all this information that I'm relaying to you, some of it was from other YouTubers that I've watched, some of it's from research, and also some of it's just channeled messages that I've received from God. And all of those have been from me praying for answers in regards to this, from when I was having doubts about me doing tarot. And then even though I got over those doubts, and then I continued doing tarot and card readings again, I was still questioning certain things, and that's the human part in me. And I was just like, but I need proof. Like, I need information and proof as to how tarot stems from you and not evil. Like, even though I knew that it wasn't evil, and I just knew that people can do evil with it, I needed more information. And then I was led to this video about the spirit of the Pharisees, and they started talking about a lot of this. And then I did like a little bit of research here and there, and I was like, it makes sense. I knew that what I was doing wasn't evil, but I couldn't prove it. And then finding that out about where tarot actually came from, I was like, it makes so much sense now. But obviously, when in the wrong hands, it can be used for evil, as with anything. Okay, so obviously I've just mentioned that tarot and other practices can be used for evil as well. So what I've written here, I don't even remember writing this. I think this particular part was channeled through. So it says, a demonic route tarot has been taken to in the New Age movement, which isn't anything new. It is the same as what was going on in Babylon, where false gods were being worshipped, people were acting against God and carrying out pagan practices, etc. So it's like bypassing true spirituality, and true spirituality is accepting God, accepting Christ, and then having the Holy Spirit come into you. That's just a quick sum up of it. And so yeah, it's bypassing true spirituality, which is God ordained, which is the Holy Spirit working in us. And then that also goes back to the whole thing of having spiritual discernment and knowing things, even though you can't prove it, you just know. And the passage that I was led to is 1 Corinthians 2, 14, which says, But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. And then that also makes me think of, again, back to the whole relationship versus religion thing, but in regards to organized religion, I'm just going to look at Christianity because that's what I grew up in and that's all I really know, kind of thing. In regards to organized religion, I don't have much information on others because I've never been in a situation where I've practiced it myself, so I can't really speak on it. But there are loads of practices in that religion that aren't of God. And then I'm like, so these people are saying that New Age is evil, and obviously there are a lot of things in that realm that are very evil. But then when you look at organized religion, as in Christianity, they've taken on so many pagan practices which are not of God. And this isn't from a place of judgment. I celebrate Christmas with like my family and enjoy all of that stuff, but the whole thing with like the trees, putting gifts under the tree, all of that stuff are actually pagan rituals. But yeah, like Christmas, Easter and all of that, the intentions are good, but something like that is rooted in paganism. So it's just like, it's hard to navigate in this world because you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to do right by God, and there's all these conflicting pieces of information. And again, that's why I go with what I feel rather than what I've seen and stuff. But that's just me personally. But not everyone's discernment is as strong, and I have moments where my discernment isn't very strong or it's clouded and things like that when I'm not on my A game. So I totally get it. Some other notes I've written, I don't even remember writing this either. These parts must have been channeled as well. So again, I put, look at modern day Christianity. It has adapted these pagan holidays such as Christmas and Easter. Many know that Christmas is a pagan holiday, yet still go to church to celebrate it and say we've made it a Christian holiday. But that isn't the case. It goes back to the blurring of the lines between what is of God and what isn't. And because if everything's merged and meshed together and there's bits of truths here, bits of lies here, all from all these different things, and I guess where it all stemmed from is so hard to know. And this has all been done on purpose. This is done by design to keep people away from God or keep them on the wrong path, even though they think they're on the right path. This has all been done on purpose, and then that's how you get people calling me out saying that I'm a witch and worshipping the devil and all of this stuff, because everything's so confused. No one knows what's truly right. Even I don't know what's truly right. That's why a lot of the time I just pray, because a lot of the information is confusing and incorrect, and that is definitely by design. Anyways, with more of the channeled part of this, so with Easter, this has never made sense. This is just what I've written. This is what I personally think. So they say that Christ died and rose on the third day, but as a Christian we celebrate on the Sunday. So we have Good Friday, which is the day that he died, then there's the Saturday, and then the Sunday, and then we have Easter Monday, but we celebrate on the Sunday. But technically that's not 3 days. It's the third day if you're counting days. But if you're going from night to day, night to day, night to day, it's not the third day. The Monday actually is. So Monday should, if we're gonna go into accuracy, if those were the true dates of when Jesus died and then rose again, it would actually be Easter Monday. That is Easter, because Friday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday, Sunday to Monday, that's 3 days. And I've always wondered that actually, and then kind of dismissed it. And it's not till recently when I was writing all this information down that I started thinking about it more, and I was like, Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And also, our new year isn't January the 1st, it's April the 1st. Because like a new year would be new energy, like spring energy, and April 1st is like spring. And then think about why it's called April Fool's Day, because they've got us all fooled. Anyways, that's a whole nother tangent that I shouldn't be going down. But yeah, that whole thing with Easter, why does no one question that? It doesn't make sense. This video is a bit all over the place, but it's all good. I just hope you find this information useful. Something else I've written here is, it's through my personal relationship with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as to why I worship the way that I do. And that can't be taught by any religion with good intentions or otherwise. It is from speaking with Father at every given opportunity, giving him all the glory, asking for forgiveness, and seeing that he made the ultimate sacrifice for us. And it's all those things that brings me closer to God. So as I mentioned earlier, being in church, for me personally, I just never felt close to God. I was just like, why am I here? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. I just always felt like that. And I was like, but I just want to go home and pray, or I just want to sit in the park and pray, or be wherever. I just don't want to be here, kind of thing. But that doesn't mean all churches are bad, because I don't think that. And I don't think all people that go to church are bad either. I've never thought that. I've just never felt close to God in the settings of organised religion. So this video has been a bit all over the place. I hope you found it informative. I hope it may lead you to do your own research and meditate and pray on some of the things that I've said and relayed. I will definitely link the video that kind of sparked a lot of this for me. But I think the main takeaway I wanted to kind of give you guys is, you should always focus on a relationship with God over religion. If you have a religion, that's fine as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But in that religion, focus on your relationship with God rather than the practices and the rules and all of that stuff. Yeah, we've got things that we need to follow, like we do have rules to follow, whether it's in life, and even as someone who believes in God, yeah, we do have rules. But I think the main focus should always be building that personal relationship with God. It's like, for me personally, I just talk to God like I'm talking to my dad. Sometimes I even swear, and I know some people will be like, oh, what, you swear when you're talking to God, and da, da, da. But God knows who I am as a person. Like, I'm someone that I don't swear all the time, but I do swear, and I just talk to him so normally, obviously with respect, but I just talk to him like he's family, because he is family. He's my father. So why would I talk to him in any other way? To me, it just doesn't make sense. Yes, you can go on your knees and pray, and I'm not saying that's wrong either. For me, I don't personally. I can be just sitting like this at home, just talking out loud to God, talking in my head. I can be walking around, talking to God. I can be sitting in the park. Like, any situation, any opportunity I can get to talk to God, I just will, wherever I am, and any old how, just be like, God, this situation right now is doing my head in. What can I do about it? Da, 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 da. And I'll just be ranting and moaning. I'm like, I need your help. Like, what should I do? Da, 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 da. And a lot of the time, that's just how it is. It's just normal. Or if something good happens, I'll be like, oh, thank you so much for today, God. Like, I've had such an amazing time. Like, all these good things have happened, and I just have to thank you for that. Da, 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 da. Like, you don't have to be like reeling off lists of things or using any kind of fancy language or fancy words. Like, come as you are. That's what they say about church as well. Come as you are. So do that. Just come as you are. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's not been too all over the place, because when I get these messages, that's how they come through, like all over the place, and I don't normally look at them until God's like, oh, you need to do a video on those notes that you made, and I'm just like, okay, cool, that's what I'm gonna do then. And that's why it's a bit all over the place. But again, I hope you'd enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I have new content out, and I will see you in the next video. Love you all.